Hello? Is anyone there? Oh, so sorry.
Oh,
It's this
wait.
confounded snow. I've just run my car off the road into a ditch. I haven't the faintest idea where I am. Must have run off the main road somewhere. I'm driving around these topsy-turvy lanes for an hour or more. Hey, you asleep? Hey, good God, he's dead.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Shot through the head. Who? You shot him.
Okay.
You shot him?
Yes, the telephone's over there. Oh, shoot, I'm not on video. Stop. Sorry, I'm not on video. All right, all right, from you shot him. Sorry.
You shot him?
Yes, the telephone is over there.
Telephone.
If you want to ring up the police.
A few minutes one way or another will make any difference. I'll have a bit of a job getting here in this snow anyway. I'd like to know a little more. Who is he?
His name is Richard Andrus. I am Lilac Andrus.
I see. And you better sit down. Can I get you a drink? Must have been a shock.
Shooting my husband?
I should imagine so, yes. Or was it just fun and games?
It was fun and games, but I would like that drink.
Now then, suppose you tell me all about it.
Hadn't you better ring the police?
All in good time. Nothing wrong with having a cozy little chat first. Is there?
Who are you? How did you happen to come here tonight?
My name is Michael Starkweather. I'm an engineer. I work for Xerox. I'm just home from Japan. I've been here for a couple of days on a wine tour. My mother's family came from this part of the world, and I thought I might buy a little house. And last 2 hours, nearer 3, I should think, I've been hopelessly lost, driving around all the twisting lanes in the Finger Lakes, ended up in a ditch. Snow everywhere, found a gate, groped my way to this house, hoping to get hold of a telephone or perhaps put up for a night. Tried the handle of the window. It wasn't locked, so I walked in, whereupon I find...
You knocked on the window first, several times.
Yes, nobody answered.
No, I didn't answer.
As I say, I tried the handle. The window wasn't locked, so I came in.
The door opens, and the unexpected guest comes in. That saying always frightened me when I was a child. The unexpected guest. Oh, why don't you ring up the police and get it over?
Not yet. Why did you shoot him?
I can give you some excellent reasons. He drank. He was cruel. I've hated him for years. What do you expect me to say?
You've hated him for years? Something special happened tonight.
You're quite right. Something special happened tonight. And so I took the gun off the table from where it was lying beside him and shot him. It was as simple as that. What's the good of talking about it? You'll only have to ring up the police in the end. There's no way out. No way out.
Not quite as simple as you think.
Why isn't it simple?
It isn't so easy to do what you're urging me to do. You're a woman. Very attractive woman.
Does that make a difference?
Theoretically, certainly not. Practically, yes.
Oh, chivalry.
Call curiosity if you like. I want to know what it's all about.
I've told you.
Told me the bare facts, perhaps.
And my excellent motive. There's nothing more to tell. In any case, why should you believe what I tell you? I could make up any story I liked. You've only my word for it that Richard was a cruel beast and that he drank, and I hated him.
I can accept the last statement, I think. There's a certain amount of evidence to support it. All the same, it's a bit drastic, don't you think? You say you've hated him for years. Why didn't you leave him? Surely that would have been much simpler.
I've no money of my own.
Your girl, if you could prove cruelty and habitual drunkenness and all the rest of it, you could get a divorce or separation, and then you get alimony or whatever it is they call it. You got children?
No, no, thank God.
Well, why didn't you leave him?
Well, you see, well, now I shall inherit all his money.
Oh, no, you won't. The law won't allow you to profit as a result of a crime. Or did you think that, what did you think?
I don't know what you mean.
You're not a stupid woman. Even if you did inherit his money, it wouldn't be so much good to you if you were going to be hanged or imprisoned for life. Supposing I hadn't come knocking at that window just now, what are you going to do?
Does it matter?
Perhaps not, but I'm interested. What was your story going to be if I hadn't come barging in and caught you red-handed? Accident? Suicide?
I don't know. I've no idea. I tell you, I haven't had time to think.
No, perhaps not. I don't think it was a premeditated affair. I think it was an impulse. Something your husband said. That it?
It doesn't matter, I tell you.
What did he say? What was it?
That I shall never tell anybody.
You'll be asked in court.
I shan't answer. They can't make me.
Counsel will have to know. It might make a difference.
Oh, don't you see? I've no hope. I'm prepared for the worst.
Just because I came through that window, if I hadn't.
But you did.
Yes, I did. And so you're for it. I need a cigarette. But it fell. So I guess no cigarette. Yes, I did. And so you're for it. Here. Now let's go back a little. Here, have a cigarette.
Thank you.
You've hated your husband for a long time. Tonight he said that something just pushed you over the edge. And you snatched up the gun, and that was lying beside. Wait, why was he sitting here with a gun beside him anyway? It's not usual.
Oh, that. He used to shoot at cats.
Cats. Cats.
Oh, I suppose I shall have to do some explaining. Richard used to be well known as a big game hunter. His uncle, George Eastman, introduced him to it. That was where we first met, in Kenya. He was a different sort of person then. Or perhaps his good qualities showed and not his bad ones. He had good qualities, you know. Generosity and courage. Supreme courage. He was a very attractive man to women.
Your cigarette, my dear.
Oh, thank you.
Go on.
We married soon after we met. Then 2 years later, he had a terrible accident. He was mauled by a lion. He was lucky to escape alive, but he's been disabled ever since, unable to walk properly. Uncle George came home with a giant elephant head for his front room, and Richard came back missing half a leg. They say misfortune improves your character. It didn't improve his. Instead, it developed all his bad points: vindictiveness, a streak of sadism, drinking too much. He made life pretty impossible for everyone in this house, and we all put up with it because, oh, you know what one says. So sad for poor Richard being an invalid. We shouldn't have, of course. I see that now, and encouraged him to feel that he was different from other people, that he could do as he chose without being called to account for it. All his life, shooting had been the thing he liked doing best. So, every night, after we went up to bed, he'd sit here, and Morty Rundle, his valet attendant, would bring the brandy and one of his guns and put them beside him. Then he'd have this window wide open, and he'd sit here looking out, watching for the gleam of a cat's eye or a stray rabbit or a dog. Of course, there haven't been so many rabbits lately, but he shot quite a lot of cats. He shot them in the daytime, too, and birds.
Neighbors ever complain?
Oh, naturally. We've only lived here in Mendon for a couple of years, you know. Before that, we lived in Rochester. One or two household pets were victims there, and there were a lot of complaints. That's really why we came to live here. It's very isolated, this house. We've only one neighbor in Miles, but there are plenty of cats and squirrels and birds. The trouble in Rochester was really because a woman came to call one day for subscriptions to the RPO. Richard sent shots to right and left of her as she was going down the drive. She bolted like a hare, he said. He roared with laughter when he told us about it. Her fat backside was quivering like a jelly, he said. However, she went to the police about it, and there was a terrible row.
I can well imagine that.
But Richard got away with it all right. He had a permit for all his firearms, and he explained he only used them to shoot rabbits. He explained away Miss McCurdy as a nervous old maid convinced that he was shooting at her, which of course was all nonsense. Richard was always very plausible. He made them believe him.
Seems to have had a rather perverted sense of humor. So a gun by his side was a nightly routine. Surely he couldn't have shot anything tonight, not in this snowstorm.
Oh, he always had a gun put there. It was like a child's toy. Sometimes he used to shoot into the wall, making a pattern. Over there, if you look, down there to the left behind the curtain.
R.A. Picked out in shots. Remarkable. Damn good shooting. Pretty frightening to live with.
Must we go on talking and talking about all this? It's only putting off what's going to happen in the end. Can't you realize that you've got to ring up the police? That would be far kinder to do it now. Or is it that you want me to do it? All right, I will.
No, we've got to talk first.
We've been talking. And anyway, there's nothing to talk about.
Yes, there is. I'm a fool, I dare say. But we've got to find some way out.
For me?
Yes, for you. How much courage have you got? You lie if necessary, and lie convincingly.
You're crazy.
But weren't there any witnesses? Whoops. Back up, Mary.
You're crazy.
Probably.
You don't know what you're doing.
I know very well what I'm doing. I'm making myself an accessory after the fact.
But why? Why?
Yes, why? For the simple reason, I suppose, that you're an attractive woman. I don't like to think of an attractive woman being shut up in prison for all the best years of her life. Is this as bad as being hanged by the neck? Or is this the kind of crime you are hanged for? I can never remember. Anyway, there it is. Your husband was a disabled invalid. Any evidence of a provocation will rest entirely on your word, a word which you seem extremely unwilling to give. Therefore, an acquittal appears unlikely, doesn't it?
Everything I've told you may have been lies.
It may be, but I'm a sucker. I'm believing you. Now talk. Talk fast. In the first place, who exactly is there in this house?
There's Richard's mother, and there's Jenny, Miss Genesee. She's a kind of combined housekeeper and secretary, an ex-hospital nurse, if you know what I mean. She's been here for ages, and she's devoted to Richard. And then there's Morty. He's a male nurse attendant and valet and looks after Richard. There are no servants, only dailies that come in. Oh, and there's John. He's Richard's half-brother. He lives with us.
I'm clean now. What is there about John you don't want to tell me?
He's a dear, very affectionate and sweet, but he isn't quite like other people.
I see. But you're fond of him, aren't you?
Yes, I'm very fond of him. That's really why I couldn't go away and leave Richard, because of John. Richard, you see, would have had him sent to an institution.
At the threat he held over you?
Yes, if I believed I could have earned enough to keep John and myself, but I don't know that I could. And anyway, of course, Richard's the boy's guardian.
Other times?
Sometimes.
Was Richard kind to him?
Sometimes. Lilac, I'm sure, would come to see you once or twice a year. He'd get John all worked up, terrified, begging, pleading, stammering. And then Richard would lean back in his chair and roar with laughter, throw his head back and laugh, laugh, laugh.
I see. I see.
You needn't believe me. You needn't believe a word I say. For all you know, I might be making it all up.
I've told you I'll risk that. Now then, what's this what's-her-name Jenny like? Is she sharp?
Very efficient and capable.
How is it that nobody heard the shot tonight?
Richard's mother's death. Jenny's room is over on the other side of the house. Morty's quarters are shut off by a baize door. There's John, of course. He sleeps in the room over this, but he goes to bed early and he sleeps very heavily.
That all seems extremely fortunate.
But what are you suggesting? That we could make it look like suicide?
No. No, there's no hope of suicide. He was right-handed, I suppose?
Yes.
But weren't there any witnesses?
Oh my God.
Oh, cripe. Couldn't possibly have shot himself at that angle. Besides, there's no mark of scorching. No, the gun must have been fired from a certain distance away. No, suicide's out. There's accident, of course. Now, say, for instance, that I came here this evening, just as I did, blundered in through this window, and Richard took a pot shot at me. That's quite likely, from all you've been telling me of this record. But then I came up to him, I got the gun away from him.
And it went off in the struggle?
Yes, no, that won't do. As I say, the police would spot at once that the gun wasn't fired at such close quarters. Well, no, say I got the gun right away from him. Well, once I'd done that, why the hell should I shoot him? Yes, it's tricky. All right, let's leave it at murder. Plain murder. But murder by someone from outside.
A burglar?
Well, I suppose it could have been a burglar. But it seems a bit bogus. What about an enemy? Melodramatic, perhaps, or from what you told me about your husband, he was a sort who have had enemies. Am I right?
Yes. Richard had enemies, but...
Never mind the buts for the time being. Tell me all you can about Richard's enemies. Number one is Miss Quivering Backside. Hardly a likely murderer, though. Anyway, I suppose she still lives in Rochester. Who else? Who else had a grudge against him? Who?
There was a gardener about a year ago. Richard sacked him and wouldn't give him a reference. He was very abusive about it and made a lot of threats.
Who was he, a local chap?
Yes, he came from Bushnell's Basin, about 4 miles away.
I don't think much of that. You can bet he's got a nice stay-at-home alibi, or if he hasn't got an alibi, then we might get the poor chap convicted for something he hasn't done. No, what we want is some enemy out of the past. How about someone from Richard's tiger and lion shooting days? Kenya, Africa, India, someplace where the police can't check up very easily.
If only I could think, only remember. If I could think of some of the stories that Richard's told us.
It isn't even as though we've got any nice properties handy. You know, a Sikh turban carelessly draped over the decanter, or a Mau Mau knife, a poisoned arrow. Damn it all, what we want is someone with a grudge. Someone who Richard kicked around. Think. Think.
I can't think.
Told me the kind of man your husband was. There must have been incidents. There must have been people, someone who made threats, justifiable threats, perhaps.
There was a man whose child Richard ran over.
When? When was this?
About 2 years ago, when we were living in the city, he made threats.
That sounds like a possibility. Anyway, tell me all you can remember about it.
Richard was driving back from Batavia. He'd had too many drinks. He went through a little village at about 60 miles per hour, zigzagging. The child ran out into the road from the inn there. Richard knocked him down and he was killed instantly.
You mean your husband could drive a car?
Yes, yeah, he could. It had to be specially built with special controls.
I see. What happened about the child? Didn't they get Richard for manslaughter?
There was an investigation. Richard was exonerated completely.
Is that the threat he held over you? Here we go.
There was the child's father. He saw it happen. And a hospital nurse, Nurse Warren, was in the car with Richard. According to her, the car was going under 30 miles an hour, and Richard had only one glass of sherry. She said that the accident was unavoidable. They believed her and not the child's father. I understand he was rather overviolent. You see, anyone would believe Nurse Warren. She seemed the very essence of reliability and accuracy and careful understatement.
You weren't in the car.
No.
How do you know what that she might have said mightn't have been the truth?
Oh, the whole thing was very freely discussed by Richard. After they came back from the investigation, he said, "Bravo, Worry, jolly good show. You've probably got me off quite a long jail sentence." And she said, "You don't deserve it, Mr. Andrus. You know you were driving much too fast. It's a shame about that poor child." And then Richard said, "Oh, forget it. What's one brat more or less in this overcrowded world? Just as well, out of it all. I'm not going to spoil my sleep, I assure you."
The more I hear about your husband, the more I'm willing to believe that what happened tonight was justifiable homicide rather than murder. Now then, the man whose child was run over, the child's father, what's his name?
A Scottish name, I think. Mac, something. McLeod, McCrae. I can't remember.
You've got to try to remember. You've got to. You must. Is he still living in Rochester?
No, he was only over here for a visit to his wife's relations, I think. He came from Canada.
Canada? Take time to chase that up, especially with the border closed and all. I think there are possibilities there, but for God's sake, try to remember that man's name. Got any newspapers about?
Newspapers.
Not today's, yesterday's, or the day before would do better.
There's some old ones in the cupboard here, kept for fires.
Fine. Fine, just what we want.
Well, what are you going to do?
Manufacture evidence.
But suppose the police find this man.
Still lives in Canada, it'll take a bit of doing. By the time they do find him, he'll have an alibi, all right. But by then, it will be a bit late to check up on things here. Anyway, it's the best we can do. It'll give us breathing space at all events.
I don't like it.
Dear girl, you can't afford to be choosy. You must try to remember the man's name.
I can't. I tell you, I can't.
McDougal, McIntosh.
Do stop. You're only making it worse. I'm not sure now that it was Mac anything.
Well, if you can't remember, you can't. We shall have to manage without. You don't remember the date or anything useful like that.
I can tell you the date. It was May the 15th.
How on earth can you remember that?
Because it happened on my birthday.
Hey, well, that solves one little problem. At any rate, we've got one piece of luck. Paper is dated the 15th.
November the 15th.
And November the 15th. Yes, it's the numbers that are awkward. May is a short word. Too bad it's not the cricket season. Capital M, capital A. Now an A, now a Y.
What are you doing?
Got any paste?
Yep.
No, don't touch. Fingerprints. Ah, yes. How to be a criminal in one easy lesson. And here's a plain block of writing paper, kind sold all over the U.S. Paste the words and letters on the paper. Now watch this. 1, 2, 3. There we are. May 15th, paid in full. Oh, the ends come off. There, how do you like that? How do you like that? Neatly into the jacket pocket. So, hello. What
Give
do
it to
we have
me.
here?
Give it to me. It's my lighter.
All right, so it's your lighter. There's nothing to get upset about. Not losing your nerve, are you?
No, of course not.
There we are, all ready for the next step. Where's that glass you were drinking out of just now? That would be stupid.
Why?
Well, there ought to be fingerprints, both on the glass and on the decanter. This valet fellow's for one, and probably your husband's. No fingerprints at all would look very fishy to the police. Now, I must think of a way to explain mine. Crime isn't easy, is it?
Oh, don't get mixed up in this. They might suspect you.
I'm a very respectable chap, quite above suspicion, and in a sense I am mixed up in it. My car's stuck fast in the ditch out there. But don't worry, just a spot of perjury and a little tinkering about with the time element. That's the worst they can bring against me. And they won't if you do your part right. Now then, are you ready?
Ready for what?
Get yourself together.
I feel stupid. I can't think.
You don't have to think. You just got to obey orders. Now then, here's the blueprint. First, have you got a furnace of any kind in the house?
There's the hot water boiler.
Now then, first thing you do is go into the kitchen and put this in the boiler. Then you go upstairs, out of your clothes, and into a dressing gown or negligee or what have you. Got any aspirin?
Yes.
Well, empty the bottle down the toilet. Then go along to someone, your mother-in-law or Miss Jenny. Say you've got a headache and you want some aspirin. Then while you're with whoever it is, leave the door open, by the way. You're going to hear the shot.
Shot.
Yeah, I'll attend to that. I'll attend to that. It's foreign to me. War souvenir?
I don't know. Richard has several foreign makes of pistol.
I wonder if it's registered.
Richard had a license, if that's what you call it, a permit for his collection.
Yes, he would have. But that doesn't mean they would all be registered in his name. In practice, people are usually rather careless about that kind of thing. Anyone who'd be likely to know definitely.
Morty might. Does it matter?
Well, the way we're building this up, old McAvoy is more likely to come bursting in, breathing blood, thunder, and revenge with his own weapon at the ready. But one can make out quite a plausible case the other way. This man bursts in. Richard, only half awake, snatches his gun. The other fellow wrenches it away from him and shoots. Sounds a bit far-fetched, but it'll have to do. We've got to take some risks. Now, have we thought of everything? I hope so, because the fact that he was shot a quarter or 20 minutes earlier won't be apparent by the time the police get here. Getting along these roads in the snow is not going to be easy. When you hear the shot, register alarm and bring Miss Jenny, anyone else you can collect, down here. Your story is that you don't know anything. You went to bed, woke up with a violent headache, you went for some aspirin, and that's all you know. Understand? All the rest you leave to me. You feeling all right now?
Yes.
Then go along and do your stuff.
You oughtn't to do this. You oughtn't. You shouldn't get involved.
Now, let's have any of this. Everyone has their own form of, what do we call it now? Fun and games. You had your fun and games shooting your husband. I'm having my fun and games now. Always had a secret longing to see how I could get on with a detective story in real life. You do what I've told you.
Yes.
Oh, good, right. You've got to watch. What time do you make? After 10 minutes to, I'll allow you 4 minutes. 4 minutes to go along to the kitchen, pop that in the boiler, go upstairs, out of your things, and along to Miss Jenny. You think you can do that, Lila? Now then, at 5 minutes to midnight, exactly, you'll hear the shot. Off you go. Not gonna let me down now, are you?
No.
Good. Why am I not muting? Wait.
Bob, you don't want to mute yourself. You just went, there you go.
How was that? Bang!